Welcome to Biggest Geekus. We are your hosts. I am Joe.
I'm Randy.
This is episode 41 of our podcast, and the date is Tuesday, January 15th, 2021. You heard that right. Tuesday, not Wednesday.
Right. Suckers.
We're doubling up this week because we are off next week.
Yep.
So, how's it going?
Pretty good. Had a pretty good week. Working on my garage, trying to get it all organized. So I'm in the phase of tearing it all out, putting in the center, and then we're going to buy those plastic tubs, more of them, organized stuff. So I need that badly. So we finally gave away some of the furniture this past weekend a bunch of stuff we'd been collecting over time and need to let go. So we found a couple that needed some stuff, and so we just gave it to them, helped them load it up. So
groovy. All right.
Shout out to my buddy Tom. Tom, my colleague at work, is moving to Minnesota, so just for a year maybe. So anyway, he's working distance. He's still at Delta. He had to help his parents, so older, help him take care of stuff. But he's out for a year. So if he's listening, happy trails, Tom. We'll see you in a year, bud. Or maybe sooner. Actually, I want to go there to visit him because there's a place called what is it called? I want to say the Backwaters. That's not it. Oh, well, I'm blanking. But it's
a game store?
No, it's a trip. It's like a wilderness trip he goes on, and I've seen him and some people I knew in the past go on pictures of it. It just the Boundary Waters. It just looks beautiful. This clear lake. I want to go do that. So I may have to go visit him in the fall or late summer. I hope.
Groovy. All right, so shall we proceed to call-ins?
Proceed. Oh, man.
As soon as I share.
Yes.
Hey guys, recording messages as I go. Taylor's a pretty smart guy, isn't he? In fact, that might be the best gatekeeping thing I've ever heard. I need to see if we can get permission to record that and post that somewhere, so when somebody posts gatekeeping, we can just play that message and let them hear it. Because I think that's a very articulate summary of gatekeeping and why it's being used wrong by these folks. So thank you for playing that message. Now let me listen to your next caller. He sounds like kind of a nitwit, but it'll be interesting to see what he says.
Yeah, Taylor is articulate. I've heard him call into other shows. He can call here anytime, dude. He was really very clear when he says stuff, and I thought his gatekeeping definition and analysis was pretty good.
Yeah.
Essentially, gatekeep your own game. Of course you should.
Mm-hmm.
You need to make sure people that are there want to be there, and those that don't want to be there aren't there.
Or shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Mutant Year Zero engine, or Year Zero, whatever it's called, that engine is great and would be awesome for horror. Why? Maybe I shouldn't say it's great. I will say it'd be great for horror. I recently played a pulp game using that, Temples and Tombs. It's supposed to be like Indiana Jones, and there are things in there that made it feel heroic. But having to roll sixes, even if you have a big die pool, having to roll a hand, 1, 2, or 3 sixes to succeed can be really harrowing. And I think that is very applicable to a horror game, because the horror of trying to roll sixes and you roll 15 dice and no 6 comes up, that's pretty horrifying.
There's other words for it too, but horrifying is one.
Yeah. He's right, though.
Hey, guys.
Go ahead. I think it's right for a horror game.
Oh, it worked really well. It did.
Aliens is perfect, yeah.
Hey guys, just wanted to say, you're talking about Avenger and RPG pundit stuff. I have Lion and Dragon. It's pretty good. It's actually maybe a little bit too realistic. Not realistic. Realistic is a bad word. But it tries to be a much more grounded view of Middle Ages. And it's not, I think it's a little more locked down than I would like to play, to be honest, although it'd be interesting to play. But it's actually a really well put together product. I've got nothing against Pundit's products. I find what I've read of his actual game materials really, really good. I haven't watched his political stuff, and I really don't know anything and can't comment intelligently about his politics or rants or anything else. But as far as his gaming stuff, yeah, I can't complain about that at all. As far as Wenger stuff, there's an episode over Purple Worm where our buddy John Allen Large and Pete Jones does the Dragons Are Real podcast, and this is on Purple Worm, but they review one of Wenger's products and talk about it, and both were kind of impressed by it. I think John might have kept it or used it. I don't know. Maybe John will join this conversation on Wenger's products and his thoughts on that. But I personally can't comment on his products because I haven't looked at them. I do know some of his anyway. But so just want to clarify there. When I was talking about that, I wasn't talking bad about Dragon Lion because that actually looks like a pretty good product, or it is a pretty good product from what I've read. I haven't played it.
Yeah, that's just shipped for me. I told you I'd got that, and it's coming from me. Pundit has a new one he posted on, I think it's on Facebook or wherever, somewhere. The Invisible College. Have you seen that, Joe? That doesn't really interest me. That's kind of a, I don't know, kind of a, not a conspiracy, but a modern type.
It's modern.
Yeah, I'm not really into that.
It's kind of X-Filesy from what I've read.
Yeah, that's what it strikes me as. It's not really up my alley, but I'm sure it's good.
Yeah, I looked at sample that is on Amazon, and it's got pretty big margin. A lot of games they don't, or they put all kinds of stuff in the margins.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to still tell from the sample, but it has a lot of art in it as well.
Well, something I like about, it's hard to say. It might suck. I don't know. I misspoke. I haven't read a thing from Pundit yet. I'm going to read the Lion and Dragon when it comes. But now, speaking of the margins, I liked how Monty Cook uses the margin in his products like Tolus and before, where he gives his design notes and other ideas. I actually like that. And I like in 13th Age where they use the margins to make comments about, I think is it the margins they use or is it within the text? Where
I don't know about margins so much. They have a lot of little back and forth that they do.
Yeah, between the designers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, those things, I know Cook will make those comments. I like the idea of designer notes. I also like the commentary books like Dragonlance and The Hobbit. I read the commentary version of The Hobbit. This one writer who he just edited and made comments on Tolkien and stuff he knew about Tolkien. I enjoy those little tidbits as I read. Now they can be distracting sometimes, and so what I'll do is I'll catch myself finishing the story and then coming back and reading the margins later. But yeah,
right.
Oh, and just to finish out the positive material plane, talk about some of the products you bought. I would also say that Iron Falcon. So if you're interested in OD&D, meaning the original, the 3 little books, and a readable version of that, Iron Falcon is a good one. That's done by the same guy that did Basic Fantasy Role Playing. You can buy a copy of Iron Falcon off Amazon for really, really cheap, or you can download it for free. So Iron Falcon may be one to check out if you're interested in the original game. And then the other one that does the original game really good is Delving Deeper, which I don't think there's a print copy, but you can find it online for free on their website. Legit free. Free as in beer. So anyway, back to your talking about the cleric.
Have you ever heard of that supplement?
Not Iron Falcon. Basic Fantasy I have.
Yeah, Basic Fantasy, yeah.
Yeah, I got this one. This is their first adventure compilation. Remember Book of Layers?
Yes.
It's like Book of Layers. There's, I don't know, a handful of adventures from levels 1 to 8. I know you love the low level action, and but still, I mean, they have 2 or 3 of those things, and they're cheap. That's the one I got when I spent, like I told you, I spent like 13 or 25 total dollars buying them. I forgot what I bought, but about $25. But I got a buttload of stuff. And the most expensive thing, I got like 3 or 4 games. Most expensive day was just this module from DCC, Journey to the Center of Aerith. So anyway, I tried to find a higher level one, level 4. That'd be like 8 in D&D terms. Hard to find, man.
as far as clerics and healing go, I really like Dungeon Crawl Classics version, and that is definitely my preferred version, where how well you heal somebody and maybe the effects of healing them with your patron goes with your alignment and their alignment, right? So Dungeon Crawl Classics has that chart in there where you compare the priest's alignment with the target's alignment for the healing. So I really like that. I don't have a problem with having the reverse spell in D&D, the cause light wounds or cause serious wounds, whatever. I think it's okay to allow that, but I like for evil priests to be able to do both versions. And to be honest, I'm okay with good priests doing both versions, especially if you're doing alignment a little more fluidly. And so if a good priest is using cause light wounds pretty often, well, maybe their deity's going to start taking disfavor with them. And that gives the DM a lot of leeway to really mess with that player. So fun.
It all depends on how much you want to stress alignment, though. And I go back and forth. I'm not sure I care. It's, on the surface, I would say that sounds weird, Jason, that a god's patron, a cleric's patron or god would, well, he's chaotic good and you're neutral, so only this much healing. But that could be a comparison of saying you're not really of the faith. Since you don't believe that much, you don't get that much benefit from it, which is not horrible. Depending on
it's a little odd, especially if you don't put it in terms of like in, I guess, third edition, where it was channeling positive energy and channeling negative energy. If it's mainly just direct beaming of powers from the god to you, or some facsimile thereof, then or if you're just a divine magic user and you learn magic like a wizard does, it's just different.
Yeah, but if you have a, go ahead.
That being the case, what I think Jason's saying there is the gods are then leaving it up to the priests to do or not do various things, and then that will reflect on their faith or their belief or their morals or whatever, instead of.
Well, there's two things I want to reach back. I'm pretty sure Jason had said one time in the past he wasn't a fan of multiple pantheons in a campaign. He wanted just one pantheon, maybe a handful of deities. Now, if you had a handful of deities, I could see how that could be easily played out, because then your characters are more likely to be worshiping the same or close to deities. If you say you only had 7 deities, there's a good chance multiple players in the group pick the same deity. And therefore a cleric would heal them and be able to heal them because their faith is stronger. I'm not sure if that's what Jason's saying, but I kind of like using alignment or deity portfolios to have an effect on healing. I'd be afraid to make it too drastic because I don't want a character who is way off, neutral compared to lawful good, let's say, or chaotic neutral, even everybody's favorite alignment, to lawful good, just can't be healed because he's so far off. But maybe there's a base. Maybe you get bonuses if you're closer. Maybe the standard's the D8. And then if you get bonuses because you're like, dude, I'm in lockstep with this god and my character is a believer, so therefore he gets a little bit more. And it's not that the cleric gives it to him. It's because the god says, hey, represent.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
And then you could have the one deity that heals everyone.
Yeah, who's just, I love everyone.
Interesting instead of just how it works.
Correct. And maybe his healing is even better, and he'll heal, and his clerics are inclined to heal the enemy.
Right.
Like, look, we beat it. We defeated them. There's no reason for them to suffer.
Right.
Yeah.
When you play lower level games, I like turning quite a bit. As you say, once you get more powerful, it gets kind of crazy. At that point, I like your idea of doing a will contest for a vampire or lich. Or I think intelligent undead should have a saving throw against turning. But at low levels, I think turning can be kind of neat and cinematic. I don't have an issue with it, but I agree. Things like your intelligent undead shouldn't automatically get turned.
Turning at low levels can be life-saving.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that ghoul encounter in our old school game?
Oh, yeah.
That can get ugly fast.
Really fast. If a couple of botched even
saving throws,
not even attack rolls or whatever, if you just happen to not go first. If they get the initiative, they get their attacks off, and then you just one person blows their saving throw can be such a devastation to the
Especially if they're the
entire
heavy
combat.
hitter.
Yeah.
And say someone else is weak and maybe one guy gets killed, they're starting
yeah.
to eat him, and then two of your frontline fighters are paralyzed. Now you got life left as the rogue and the wizard. That's trouble.
Right. In early versions of the game, if you cast a healing spell, then the paralysis went away.
I like that.
Understand. So
I like that better. Yeah. That's actually good. I'm gonna need to note that.
That was on Tale of Manticore. That's how it worked there.
That's correct. Which I'm up to, by the way. Did you listen to the most recent? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a good episode. Mm-hmm. Fun.
Hey guys, because you asked, as far as your new segment goes, I thought it was fine. I mean, it's always interesting to hear people's opinions on things. I mean, that's why we're listening to podcasts in the first place. So, yeah, I think it's a interesting segment, and I wouldn't be sad to see it return.
Groovy. It will be returning today.
Yep. +1 for the 3 L's. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hey there, guys. It's John here, calling from the Red Dice Diaries. I'm sure someone's already rang in to give you the name of the anime that you were talking about on your downsizing episode, but just in case they haven't, the anime is Spirited Away by Studio Ghibli, and there's a main female protagonist and her parents. They go to like this strange sort of fair, which has a bit of a sort of fae/spirit vibe about it, and as you said, they eat this forbidden food and are turned into pigs, except for the little girl who's more cautious and more fearful of it. And it's about her trying to get her parents back and trying to escape from this like weird sort of fae realm. Quite an interesting anime. Some cool ideas for sort of like fairy or sort of, I suppose, demonic, depending on how you slant it, inspiration. Anyway, I'm going to go back to listening to the episode, guys. Take it easy, and I'll catch you soon.
John, been a while since we heard from him.
Hey there, guys, it's John again, just listening to the nasally inspired part of your collecting and downsizing episode. And I love the idea you're talking about for the t-shirt. I think you should just get one that just says Biggest Geekers, Scent of Roleplay. I think that'll be a quality t-shirt. Anyway, I'm going to get back to the rest of the episode. Great stuff, guys. Keep it
on. Can we use that, John? I think
he gave it to us.
Yeah. That's sweet. Scent of Roleplay. Oh, that's good.
Now, what would be a good graphic that would go with that?
Big old nose over a book. Oh, my.
Hey there, guys. John again. Yeah, I've got to admit, in terms of what Randy was saying when it comes to downsizing, I mean, you've seen the sort of bookshelves I've got that are sort of fairly groaning with my ill-gotten gains of like my youth and stuff like that, and having had a wife who worked at a game shop and stuff like that. So I've got books, like say more than I can ever possibly read, and I've done a little bit of downsizing recently, but it is something I think about a fair bit. And I think, to be honest, anything that deters me is the hassle of like selling stuff on eBay and stuff like that. But I know there's like bring and buys at like conventions like UK Games Expo and stuff like that, so I'm seriously giving some consideration to like taking some of my stuff along to those, because realistically I've got loads of games that I'm never going to get around to running, and like you say, it is a little bit wasteful. Anyway, enjoying the episode, guys. Take care, and I'll catch you soon. Hey there, guys. It's Johnny from the Red Dice Diaries, just listening to your class and role analysis of the Cleric episode, and Andy's calling where you're talking about Ravenloft or Ravensoft, which I particularly chuckled about. And one of the things that struck me is, this whole, you're not supposed to scare the players and stuff like that, is what are people expecting when they like roll up to a game and people are like, oh, we're going to be doing a horror game? Because I'm assuming that most GMs would let people know, or, if you're signing up for like a Ravenloft game, you're probably going to be having a horror game. I mean, obviously, if you're in some sort of other campaign, you get yoinked into the mist, that might be different. But I see it rather like when I go and watch a horror film, you go and watch a horror film expecting to be scared, expecting to have those buttons pushed. That's all part of the experience. And obviously there's a bit of removal from it, because when I'm watching a horror movie or playing a horror game, I'm still like, no, I'm in no actual danger. So I'm not really scared for my life, so to speak. But whether it's a horror movie or a horror game, you're not going to enjoy yourself unless you buy into like the tropes and the ideas of that sort of horror genre. And I think, to be honest, if I rocked up to a horror game and the GM didn't try to scare me, I'd be quite disappointed about that, because I'd be like, oh, what's this? Am I getting like Diet Ravenloft or like Ravenloft Zero or whatever? I expect the GM to try and scare me. So it always seems odd to me when like people say, oh, you know, you shouldn't try and scare the players or have these overt horror elements in. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents, guys. I'm going to get back to listening to the episode. Take it easy.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt there. Ravenloft Zero. Man, John, he's on a roll, buddy. He's spot on.
That's good stuff.
I came to a horror game. I can't believe you're trying to scare me.
Hey there, guys. It's John here again from the Red Dice Stories. I think the really sad World War II anime you're referring to is like Grave of the Fireflies. And yeah, that is some depressing shit, man. Anyway, I'm going to go back to listening to the episode. Take it easy.
So John knows his anime. So
it's even worse when you get surprised with it.
Yeah.
You want to see an anime? Okay. What are you doing?
Oh, goodness. Those are good call-ins. Thanks, guys. Jason and John. Always count on you guys. That was good.
Yeah. That was good stuff. And that is it for the calls.
All right.
So we're entering the positive material plane. What is up with the plane today?
Well, I know for me, recently this past week, I've talked with our good buddy Patrick and inspired to work on a product I'm not going to talk about on air yet, but I think it's pretty great that our hobby has a low level of entry, that you can build a PDF and send it off, though there's a lot more to it than I thought of. As I look at it, you got layout and editing and stuff. So
trying to find art for it.
Yeah, and then art and stuff like that. Even a small PDF, you kind of want to have something that'll grab people's attention. So luckily Patrick is an artist, so push comes to shove, he can do a couple of panels or a couple of things, but we'll see. There's an idea or two bouncing around in our noggins, and Joe's got a couple of ideas he's mentioned even on here. So hopefully we can do kind of a biggest geekest pointy hat combo at some point. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I know you sent me a text and we got lost in a different conversation and never got to answer. So yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think that'll be cool. Yeah, but that's kind of my big positiveness this week. Anything
I got Josh sent me a story about a new gaming product that could be of interest. Dungeon Crawl Classics is released or is releasing. No, I think it's kickstarting.
Dying Earth?
The Dying Earth, yeah.
Oh, that I have to admit, that does kind of interest me a little bit. Granted, it's Jack Vance, Joe. You know what
from what I understand, here recently, the way Vance did things in his novels is somewhat different than the Vancian magic system that we have.
If you read it, it even reads different.
Yeah.
Yeah, the memorizing is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Compared to how but I'm sure guy can actually just interpret it for D&D. I mean, it can't. He just was inspired by it. Probably some way to screw I could really screw the wizard if I do this.
Yeah.
So that would be cool. Yeah. So, but I saw that the Dying Earth. That's pretty intriguing. So it might be worth a few bucks. We'll see. That would, of course, be affecting my downsizing.
So what you'll have to do is choose something to get rid of before you get.
That's right. Two things. Remember, it's two things. For me, it's 2 for 1. I have to get rid of 2 things.
Right.
So I got to get rid of about 9 things now because I also ordered Swords and Wizardry complete box set. Well, I gave my
best
2
way
copies.
to not have it increase your volume of books is just to give it to me, and I have room.
Dude, I never even thought of that. You got space on your shelf? I don't.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. I could give. I gave him my 2 copies of the Mythmere white box Sword and Wizardry white box thing to Ben and Tim because they wanted to start a campaign and I wanted to spread the love. So plus the box set just sounds so cool. So I had to get it.
All righty then. So yeah, there's all kinds of good stuff out.
We'll check it out. And I listened to Rob Connolly's Down in a Heap review of the Swords and Wizardry box set, and he kind of compared it to the OSC box set. Sounds like OSC is a little more stylish and cool, better made product in terms of, saddle stitch booklets. I don't know if you've seen the OSC box set for the old school essentials, and it's older now, and he even has in fact, they've already fulfilled the old school advanced rules, which lets you play a little more AD&D type stuff and BX. But he did say they're essentially very similar game. When you're talking BX and OD&D, there's not a whole lot of difference. So
not a whole lot, no, not really.
So anyway, but
it's more in presentation than anything else.
Oh yeah, and the presentation was top notch for OSC, and I agree because I've seen people open it and it looks really good. I mean, each book is colored different, like completely colored different, and they're hard and about this big, little, not index. What am I looking for?
Digest
size. That's the word.
Right.
Index card size. Great.
All righty. Moving on to main topic time.
Hey, buddy.
Playing the whole game.
Right.
So
yeah.
At level 1,
D&D as
going to level 20.
Yeah.
D&D.
It's the reference game, but any game would fit in here.
Right.
So, when you get a game book, and Joe said this, they have rules for higher than 5th level. So why not playing them higher than 10th level for us? Right. Most games do go to 10. That's actually a WotC survey. They've shown that over several years, which, by the way, there's a new survey up. Did you hear that? I hate to get negative. I think I'll save that. We'll talk about it next time. Okay. But anyway, because I want to complete it. But anyway, so you get these rules, and a lot of people, even a lot of the OSR guys we hear talking, I like low level. And it's kind of like, I get why they want to play basic D&D, especially if you're playing the original box, those levels 1 to 3. Right. Then you're playing the whole game.
Your whole game.
You played it all. But if you have BECMI, you better be playing to 36. If you have Immortals, you got to go past 36. So, ignoring the balance issue, at least for the moment, right? We're going to play the whole game. So, reading and playing an RPG and being excited to play it all. I assume you're like that.
Oh, yeah.
When you read the book, you go, "Ooh, that's cool. Oh my gosh, wait till I'm 19th level. Oh, unbelievable." Right? So as a player, you see all the goodies at the high end. You're like, "Man, I want to get to that."
Sure. And you also you know the bad guys, and you're like, "Oh, that'd be cool to face down one of those and see how it works out." Yeah.
You remember me in early D&D, we were like, Asmodeus. Oh gosh, I want to have the players fight him. He is unbelievable.
Right.
I'll bring him in when they're 3rd level, just when they say his name. That'll be cool.
No.
That was not so cool.
No.
But actually, I don't think he ever showed. I think Orcus did once. The players would say the monster's name, even if the player said it, not if the character didn't matter. If the word Orcus or Asmodeus was said at the table, there was a 5% chance they would hear and they would show up.
Right.
So, speaking of that, so I get the excitement, right? You see all the things that are there and you want to play the full. Now, some people don't see that as exciting, but let's just go with it. I think most people probably do at least think, "Oh, that's cool." Though some DMs and some players go, "Oh, that looks wonky," or whatever. Let's not go down that road yet. Do you, however, want to play all levels of every game you read? So when you read Savage Worlds, you're like, "Man, I can't wait to get to Legendary."
Sure.
Okay.
I would say most of the time. It depends on how interested I am in the game. So if I like the game, I'd like to explore the whole thing.
Sure. I think that's part of it, right? Exploring the rules and the mechanics and the setting and see what happens. Do you ever read a game and do the opposite thing? This would be good for a short campaign or a one shot. That's about all I'd want to do. To me, Aliens tops that list.
Yeah. There's a lot of games like that, especially games that don't really have like an upper end or ends as such.
Yeah.
They're lighter on the whole leveling issue, though I know that they have that in that Aliens game we played.
Yeah, there's advancements. Right. You can get more talents and things like that.
Yeah.
And I guess if you really were motivated to play that, you could. To me, because I guess Ripley's a high level character in Aliens. an example of a high level character, but highly skilled, highly experienced. But to me, I don't know, aliens, the cool part of it's the fear, the horror, the aliens are there. We got to get away from them. Or if you're the Marines, we can try to kill them. And then, there's some real pretty crap now. So I guess games like that. Another games for me that I wouldn't care about advancing would be Shadowrun. It's just because, I don't know, first of all, I'm not a huge fan of it. But if I played it, I love the idea of one run. You go on a run and do that. What are some other games? There are definitely other games that do that for me.
Well, I would say as far as any game that I've played, I'm like, well, this is cool for a one shot. And that would be or short campaigns or dips in it now and again. And Savage Worlds is like that.
It can be for us. Yeah, we definitely do. Short campaigns tend to be the style. And I guess I like that more, but it's just because I think it's outside of my wheelhouse most of the time. Though the fantasy game could have potential because that's definitely in my wheelhouse. But the mechanics always drive me. I guess when I play fantasy, I'm always driven back to thoughts of D&D. Right. I can't help it. But what about, I just had it.
I think Rollmaster or Traveler are both games that I would not care whether I got very advanced in it. Just they would be one-shotty or
Call of Cthulhu.
Probably the same thing.
If I were to play that, I would love to play Andy's game with those beefsteak guys. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. Yeah. But there is a big campaign called, what is it? Mask of Nyarlathotep. That's apparently a huge campaign, world-spanning, where you're traveling. So I could see that as being possible. I just don't know if I particularly want to play Call of Cthulhu for, I don't know, an actual year. Probably not.
Yeah, but even if you played it for an actual year, what does advancement look like in that, and how far do you go? And, and if it's a proper Call of Cthulhu world or milieu, advancing is balanced against insanity.
I was going to say,
death, because
keep sticking your nose into the mythos.
Yeah, it's going to get bit off.
It's going to stick bit off and stick itself into your brain. You're going to be nuts if you live.
Yeah.
So that's
or what's worse is you might live.
Well, it means if anyone can call in and let us know how a long-term campaign of Cthulhu might go, or anybody out there that knows about Cthulhu. To me, it just doesn't seem. I'm sure even if they come back, if they call in, I'll be like, that sounds great. But I mean, for me, I don't know. Maybe it'll just wear out. And so, I think there are certain genres in games that kind of lend itself to one shots in my mind. For me, my taste. Now, back in the day, and I'm talking more D&D, we never conceived of not continuing with characters that we had. Correct. So when you guys roll up new characters, we played them until I killed them.
Right. Play them until they die.
Until they died. Yeah, right. So what I mean by that, I mean, I murder them in their sleep, though I did do that at times. The point was, I just didn't, I didn't know what a one-shot was. It didn't strike me as a thing.
No.
Or short campaign. What are you talking about? It's the same campaign. And if someone else DM'd, you didn't make a new character.
No, you brought a new character. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to again. Well, Volspar's 14th level, you got to make a game for that. It wasn't like make a new character. So if someone ran a game and we have 7th level characters, they better make a 7th level adventure. Yeah. We'd roll it if it was too low level. So that's an interesting thought. So that never really crossed my mind. Now I have a different approach.
Right.
So when we think about this idea of playing from 1 to whenever, so 1 to 20, or I even separate that from open to open-ended, where you play 1 to no end in sight.
Right.
I have a list of a few advantages, and you might have more. I think an advantage to playing a campaign from 1 to no end in sight is you get the full gaming goodness.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get a chance, theoretically, to play every single level, get every single power, every single feat, every single advancement that your character would deserve, and see what happens to him.
Yeah, that is a great, for me, I like that because you see how your character changes over time mechanically. And I like engaging all that stuff because you read it in the game book and you're like, oh, that's cool. I want
to cast Time Stop. I want a wizard that face stuff where I need to cast time stuff to beat it.
And there's also at this point now, before early back in the day, it was like, oh, that's cool, and that was practically all there is to it. Now it's more like that plus I wonder how broke that is, because you read it and you're like, that looks really powerful. I want to try that and see if it's as powerful, or maybe it just looks like that on the page, how it plays out on the table, less than it just looks cool.
Yeah, and that was I didn't use broke back then. I used too powerful. But the good point was, and you'd always shrug your shoulders, because the truth of the matter was, we didn't know till it hit the table.
Right.
I mean, until time stop is played, we don't know how good it is. Until the wizard can cast time stop every day if he wants to, you don't know. You really don't know how powerful it is.
Right. And then playing it, you needed to play it multiple times, not just once.
Yeah, let's say your character casts time stop 2 or 3 times and you win a couple encounters. I'm like, okay, look, time stop seems to be boss. This next guy they're going to fight, he's been around the block. He's ready for time stop Joe.
Yeah.
He's about to put a kibosh on the time stop plan. Or he's about to make life very difficult where he's going to need to use time stop just to make it through this thing.
Right.
So, I think that's, as a DM, it's a fun challenge to keep going on. And I think that as the story, I'm kind of more fond of the story happens at the table. And I think it tends to force you to sort of change. It never ends. So you got to start changing and adding, and that makes a campaign grow. And in my thoughts, that's great memory. Mm-hmm. And you'll have great memories if it just, man, the campaign we started out, we were gong farmers from borrowed DCCs. You know what a gong farmer is?
I've heard it said, but I don't know what it is.
Picks up poop, I believe. And so
that sounds so DCC.
It does. So, and that's the big background everybody wants to pick. I was once a gong farmer. So anyway, I think that's right. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but that sounds right. So it's kind of cool to imagine, man, we started out like that, and now we're battling super powerful astral dragons that are 30th level mages, and we're holding our own, and we're defeating it, So that's pretty cool. What about, there's no reason to start at level 1 though, if you've done this a lot, right?
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Starting off at first level is fine, but if you're doing it every week or every other week, it gets really tedious. And I know there's the phrase of, you got to earn your, you pay your dues. Well, I mean, I've paid those dues, I don't know how many times as a player,
Yeah.
So
does every character have to pay those dues?
Right. And, I get that they should.
Yeah.
And, but low level challenges in the game, there's not that many different scenarios for low level challenges. Not really. I mean, you could say a dragon is low level and just lower its damage or whatever, but I mean, you've got skeletons and zombies and orcs and a few other monsters that are the standard fare of low level, and you can reskin them and make them look a little different. But the things about low level play that make them challenging aren't necessarily the monsters. It's the fact that you have very low resources, and it's a juggle.
Yeah.
And you do that enough, you get how that works, and you get how to do it, and then it becomes kind of routine, a little boring.
Well, even from the GM's side, I get tired of you fighting kobolds and goblins, and I get tired of trying to think of a cool way to do something. I remember a Ravenloft campaign I ran. I had 10 or 11 players. I had them fight at what was called a Nosferatu back in AD&D, and it was buff. And it was a module I had found, and I messed around with it. It was a Dungeon Magazine article. And I was like, and they were like, if you have first level characters, you better have more than 8 players. And I had 10 or 12. So, well, I'll try it. And I killed 6 of them, but it was, we had a heck of a time.
It's kind of like the final scene in Penny Dreadful.
Yeah.
The final thing, spoilers, if you haven't seen Penny Dreadful, you might want to skip it a little ahead.
Yeah.
They have a scene with a creature that's, if it hadn't been interrupted, everyone would have died, if you remember correctly.
Interrupted.
So
I don't remember, been a while, but I like that show pretty well.
right.
Pretty
So since we're going to go spoiler, okay, so lady got turned into a vampire, right? She accepted kind of the dark side and
Right.
fell in love with Dracula, because who wouldn't?
Right.
And then Wolf Boy goes in and kills her.
Oh.
She allows herself to be killed.
Right.
And then that interrupts Dracula.
Right.
If that wouldn't have happened, he would have killed everybody. Probably would have killed the Wolfman too.
Oh, sure. Dracula was awesome in that show.
Yeah. And it was like he was just playing with him. They didn't have anything for him at all. Even so-called, who did they swap genders with? What was his name? Oh, Professor Van Helsing was now a woman, and I guess supposed to be tough, but he handled her pretty well. She didn't have anything for him.
No. I think an advantage of having long-term campaigns.
Right, but what I was saying about that is,
go ahead.
That's like low level.
Oh, yeah.
That's low level, right?
Getting your butt handed to you by someone.
Yeah, over and over and over again.
Well, like I was listening to Rob Conley down in a heap, and he commented about his low-level characters, second-level characters running into multiple minotaurs in a module, and they ran immediately.
Oh, sure.
They ended up the minotaurs moving too fast, so they had to face them, and they got lucky and killed them. Some sweet luck. Then they go back and they found another one, and they luckily killed it. I mean, statistically, they should have got murdered.
Sure.
But that's miraculous. And maybe that's the thrill and the 1 in 20 chance that people just live for, that like the low level, like, well, whatever, let's just try it and see. And then we got a great story for success. If we don't, we'll roll up new characters, which I guess there's no loss if you're second level. Just, okay, do another.
Sure.
But I mean, I don't know. I think, to me, I like a story that I like the idea of a long-lasting one. Plus, another advantage of playing a campaign from one to no end is you can take breaks and try other things.
Sure.
I've always loved the idea of you played it, I think, of a rotating campaign where maybe I would run for 6 months, and then you would step in and run for a month or two, and then maybe I'm running the main campaign, and you would run a secondary campaign that we play every once in a while.
Right.
And just to break the monotony, and you've talked about that too. I think that's an opportunity. And to battle the burnout issue, right? Which is
right, which you can get. Yeah. So what you do is, when you do have characters, especially once they get to name level or higher, you don't have to play them every week. In fact, it might stretch your suspension of disbelief that you have that many things to do as characters of that level, apart from running your domain, if that's what you do in your at your home table. But it's probably better to take breaks so that the DM can come up with something interesting rather than monster of the week.
Prevents the disadvantage I wrote down of fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, you made a good point. As a DM, if you're 9th, 10th level, and every time we play, there's another big adventure for 10th level, for 11th level, for 12th level, which 3E was like that. You get that weird leveling problem. I'm 19 when I start. I'm 22 when I'm an Archmage. Or if you're lucky, you're 20 when you're an Archmage.
Right.
Play a lot. And so I think it can be a fatigue for the DM. It can be fatigue for playing the same characters for some players. They get tired of that. And taking breaks and doing multiple campaigns, that's something I think if we want to do this in our own game, we're going to have to, I think, figure this out, this alternating campaign thing. I believe that's going to have to happen.
Yeah, and it can make you treasure your, it might not even be the high level, the primary. You might like one of the alternates better, but it could help you with playing, I think, the various things.
Your library.
So that you're not getting burned out, you're not getting bored, any of that stuff.
And my stupid big library back there, which you can see just part of.
Yeah, you can play it all, or you can play a larger portion of it.
Yeah.
And the other, I think, I had a thought in my mind, but because I'm old, it jumped out.
It's early in the morning. We're still moving slow. I am.
Yeah. Actually, I've been up since 6.
You're back, or just woke up? You
No,
just woke up
at 6. Yeah, woke up
Okay.
at 6. Oh
Yeah,
yeah. I do that. I
Yeah.
normally wake up at 6:30, but today
Yeah.
it was 6.
Okay.
Right. So there's some advantages that we've just talked about to
Mhm.
having breaks in the a long running campaign, but you don't want the breaks to be too long, because with high level characters,
Yeah.
more so with
Um,
3rd edition and Pathfinder, but I think it probably goes with AD&D.
Even first edition and second edition, there was a
Yeah.
lot to keep track of.
Yeah, you're going to forget you're going to forget stuff, and you're going
Yep.
to not remember what your character is capable of.
And if you as a DM don't take good campaign notes, you may forget what's what.
Yeah,
You know, in terms of, I thought the barkeep's name was Fred. Why do you keep calling him Mark?
Right.
I mean, you know, that's a minor thing, but it could be a big deal.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Do you think, this is something I've already said, in campaigns, I think one disadvantage of long term is there might be a natural ending point.
There might be.
I mean, if you're playing a game where your whole point is to defeat this Arc Lich and you defeat him at 13th level, he's defeated.
Mm-hmm.
It can feel satisfying. We've done it. And maybe you have a character who is like one of those lone wolves, but the one that's manageable. He's like, I'm going to be a lone wolf. You guys just convince me a little and I'll join you. Just play along. You know, we talked about that before. And then he's like, I don't want to get into this. I'm tired. I got this shop. My dad runs the local tavern. I'm going to take it over. And you finish in 13th level role. You're like, look, I'm retiring. And someone can say, because that's what my character would do. And in that case, that would be reasonable.
Yeah, it would.
I've done this. I've saved the country. I've saved the town. Vecna is dead.
Right.
Love you guys, but I'm going to go serve beer.
Mm-hmm. So
and,
so there are times that there are situations where if all the players are good with continuing, you continue. And you know, if the DM doesn't want to continue, you know, you strong arm him, punch him in the nose, and tell him you keep going.
Which you guys did to me sometimes, but you usually paid for that.
But yeah, there are some when it doesn't even have to be everybody.
No.
If most of the folks at the table are like, yeah, I'm ready to move on, then you probably should.
Yeah,
you don't want to push it beyond that.
But there's an illusion there, because you could call it and then say it's been 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
What has your character been up to? Because, you know, maybe a year or two later, 6 months later, man, I miss those characters.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, okay, let's fast forward the timeline. They're 10 years later. He's tired of serving beer, or something else has happened. You know, mysterious illness in the town. What's going on? Blah, blah, blah.
Joe's character burned his barn down.
Yeah.
His bar down. Now he doesn't have a bar anymore. So we can go adventuring.
Yeah. The pyro wizard goes, come on, John, let's go. You ain't got a bar anymore. It's all good.
It's a shame your bar burned.
It's a shame. But I heard there was a dragon up over this hill. Oh, you get enough money to rebuild your bar. Let's go.
Yeah. That's not evil at all.
Oh, you think of any other advantages or disadvantages of running a long-term open-ended game?
Not any specific ones. I just think it's fun.
Me too. I think I lean that. That's kind of leans a little bit into one of the other topics near the end. But now I used to think an open-ended campaign, only a few years ago, I thought it was just an old school conceit. I thought which is funny, because that's not my experience now at all.
No,
I think it's exactly the opposite. Because I thought that's just how we used to play. Because when you hear a lot of people, they're constantly changing. Listen to like Jason, dude, how many games is he playing? And it sounds like he runs story arcs in some of his games. He goes back and visits them, which is cool.
2, 3, 4 sessions, something like that.
And if he comes back to the same character multiple times, that's a good way to keep a long-term campaign going. There was a video by Avenger Satanis, and I saw it on our Facebook RPG, conservative RPG group we're part of. And anyway, and Joe will post the link where he talks about should characters be the star of the show, which is weird. It doesn't at first it doesn't make sense, but I think his real point was, should your campaign world care about the characters? And I think there's two types of approaches here. Your characters are the heroes, and this leads to certain types of games too, but let's just focus on running campaigns. It's all about them, and the DM caters to them. There's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
We're the heroes, and then versus, yeah, your characters are potential heroes. The world doesn't really care that much about them, especially not initially. They can earn their stripes, but the world's kind of like the regular world. It doesn't give two craps about what you're doing.
Right.
And
for the most part, how could they? Because they don't know who you are.
And that could definitely influence the length of your campaign.
Sure.
Because if you're a bunch of nobodies and you die down in the first dungeon, so what?
Yeah.
Whereas if you're the heroes of the land, everybody loves you. Take 5e background. I have a character that I didn't get to play last week, but I have an idea for one who's a folk hero. He's already kind of a well-known in his town. If he dies, that bothers some people.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's interesting to have a background of hero.
Yeah, it is. It's weird.
Yeah.
Different style.
So it's very 5th edition.
Well, the more I think about it, I didn't buy this initially,
mm-hmm.
and you were always loved to use the term weenie, but 5e is superhero play.
Yeah,
it is. I mean, you were like awesome from the get-go. Not quite 13th age awesome, but you're awesome. I think when your players are kind of heroic, the main guys at the beginning, kind of heroes. And by that, I just mean you're special. You're super special guys. That frameworks the campaign. And I think an end goal is probably better in that case, rather than open-ended play. Because you're just constantly being, we're very special now, and then we're very special later, and we're very special all the time, versus we're very special until we kill the Lich. Then the game's over because the heroes won the day. I don't know if that has to be the case. That's just the way I would think about it. Versus an uncaring world. They didn't care that we defeated the Moat House. Now they don't care that we went to the Barrier Peaks and found this cool sci-fi equipment. They don't really care about us. We're getting to know us. Let's keep doing different stuff until eventually we get noticed and we matter.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That could be the focus of the campaign.
Yeah. Getting noticed.
Or that could be, I don't know. I think it's kind of weird for that to be the focus of the campaign, to get your characters noticed. It's an interesting side effect of your activities. So,
correct.
Yeah, I prefer the game world to be perhaps, I prefer the game world. Some parts of me, I think it's cool if your character is like, well-known and well received wherever they go, but it's kind of weird. So I think it's probably better if it starts out like you would start out. Nobody knows who you are. Nobody cares who you are except for a very few people, like your family or friends or whatever. And then you either do or don't make a name for yourself, depending on what you do. However that might matter to your character. It may not matter to your character that they get well known, but some characters it will matter because it's part of their makeup.
This YouTube, TikTok, Instagram age makes me think of a campaign where, what if all the characters want to be famous for being famous,
right.
Kardashians.
Mm-hmm.
And so if all the characters want to be famous, imagine the party leader, some bard who wants to be a rock star, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then that could be kind of wild as they start at first level. Look what I did. Look what I did. Look what I did. That'd be kind of cool. And they have artist renditions. Look, they're holding the ogre's head. And they're
right.
Put it up all over town. Come see the so on. And people are like, who cares?
And there are lots of character concepts where they want recognition.
Yeah. Now, it seems like people in the OSR sphere, in the podcast sphere, I should say, that like OSR, I wonder how many of them are running open-ended campaigns, if any.
Well, I think this is a similar question that we've gotten some feedback on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that for some folks, campaigns, and just like us,
mm-hmm.
they just, fall apart for one reason or another. Scheduling, lack of interest, one reason or another. They don't get, you may have 10 sessions and then you're done.
Right.
So I think that there are probably a few people that's just the way it ends up.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that's what they prefer.
And I wonder if some of the older guys we listen to have just said, you know what? Real life gets in the way too much. I'm just going to plan a campaign that's
Might as well
big,
plan for the way things are probably going to work out. Yeah.
One arc, and we'll see if we get back to it, which is probably smart in terms of practicality.
I think some people just like low levels.
That too.
Because I think they're more easily identifiable to themselves or to regular people.
Yeah.
They like the idea of regular people or more regular people overcoming odds rather than getting powers and abilities, and then that's what gets them over instead of their human ingenuity, which honestly only gets you so far anyway. I mean,
they just can't envision 4 or 5 20th level characters fighting a Terrask like golem on the husk of a dead god in the astral plane.
Right.
That's just too far fetched, which is weird, and too much crazy stuff. And you're opening portals, summoning allies, and undead are rising from the ground because they just created by the god's body. And since he's the god of undeath, you can't turn them. And so life is just crazy.
Right. I think folks like the aesthetic of the regular guy using ingenuity to overcome the odds instead of superpowers, or what's in their mind as superpowers.
Right. So in a busy life, how do dudes like us accomplish a 1 to 20 or 1 to open-ended? Open-ended, I get. We play this thing until, we play whenever we have time. But if you want to accomplish a 1 to 20, we're 54. I'm 54, right? And if I want to play level 1 to 20, how do I do it?
Fake it till you make it. I mean, you just keep trying, because I don't know if there is a formula for it, because you have to rely on others. Everybody has to rely on somebody else to help them get over that finish line.
This is always
or to the 20th level mark and beyond. You have to rely on multiple people.
Yeah.
And then you might do something like this. What happened? You can't be beholden to the 1 to 20, because you start out at first level, and let's say you get to 9th or 11th or something like that, and then somebody dies. Doesn't have to be a whole party, just one of the characters dies. Do you make that player start a first level character to hold on to that aesthetic, or do they bump up a little bit, one level below? Those are all considerations. But if everybody stays alive from 1 to 20, then that's one thing.
So that's game issues. That's actual in-game issues. And the other thing is, to make that happen, do you think that I think you've alluded to this. I think there's a possibility you may need to commit more, meaning we're going to try to actually do it. We're not going to make a lot of excuses, and you got to curate your group well. You got to find the people. You alluded to that. You got to find the people that want to do it. You may make it many guys like, dude, I'm tired at 9th level. That's good. That's powerful enough for me. But we have a friend, Philip, who says he likes the mid-level play, and that's about it. He doesn't want to get to 17th level and 20th level. At least he didn't, but in third edition for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and don't be also, even though we are the age that we are, you can't be in a hurry.
Yes. I can get like that if I'm not careful. I want to get to the higher levels. Yeah. You just got to play it and let it be.
Let it be. And you might not get there.
Yeah. And maybe it's a pipe dream for old folks.
Maybe
it's just for the young ones. They have the time to play every day.
You accede to the fact that you've already played 1st to 5th, 6th, 7th level a million times.
Yeah.
Probably literally.
Yep. And
start there. Or you start at first level and you do rapid gaining to a certain point to where you think, we're good here, and do normal from there on out.
Right. We've done 1 to 7. Let's get to 7th level fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. We mentioned it a couple times. Some people just don't care about playing the full game.
Yeah. It's play style. Yeah.
You think it's just play style?
Yeah, it's just different play style. I think some people like I was saying earlier, they like the idea of someone that's more identifiable, and they're relying on ingenuity instead of powers.
Yeah, and I think it's their life commitments and things they have. And some, I would argue, some don't want to learn the rules, because invariably in every game I've ever seen, higher level play becomes more complicated.
Mm-hmm.
More experienced characters can do more things, which means you got to keep track of more stuff. It's very relaxing. If someone said, "Hey, we're going to play, basic D&D tomorrow," guess how much time I have to do to think about my character? None.
Very little. Yeah.
I can wait 10 minutes for the game rolling buttons. Let's go.
Yeah.
Playing a halfling thief. Let's do it. I'm a halfling, sorry. First level halfling, second level halfling.
Yeah.
It's
old enough school.
So to wrap it up, would you want to, you and I both want to do this. We want to play the whole game. And I don't feel like Savage Worlds is the game I want to do that with. What about you?
Probably not.
I feel like
it'd be interesting to do it once to see what it, to see how the game plays out at the legendary level. But that's not, I think, the focus of what I would do. It's more like a D&D type game.
Yeah, I think so too. All right. Anything else you want to add about playing the whole game?
I don't think so. I think we hit it all.
Cool.
We want to play high level. We want to get to high level.
Yep. Because I want to get to the whole game. That's what it is. I want to see it all.
Yeah.
I've done it. I mean, I've done high level D&D. We played high level D&D.
Yeah.
But I'd like to really.
And certainly a pickup high level game is not as good.
No matter
playing up to that level.
There's moments of basically all you get at a pickup high level game. Like I keep thinking about that CabinCon game where we played the 20th level 3rd edition characters or Pathfinder characters with 10 levels of mythic.
Yeah.
So the highest level in the game. And you guys just brought the pain to the monsters. It was kind of cool to be able to do just crazy, destructive. Look at me, 900 damage and fireballs, 6,000 meteor swarms. And it was pretty cool, but that's about the only thrill you get.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a DM like I'm going to create, like I created that undead. It was a carcass of the Tarask where Orcus was bound inside his body by Ios the Old. So this kind of walking undead golem of doom.
Right.
And that was fun, but man, it was a lot of work. Not quite as much work as you guys put into your characters. And in the end, it's a little hollow. It was fun, but it's a little hollow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the same as playing your character from 1 to 20 or from 5 to 20 or to no end. I have a character that's 27th level. We play him every once in a while.
It has a play history.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to move on to Like It, Love It, Leave It.
Yeah, we're not going to have a CabinCon segment this episode. Crazy. Going to take a little break from that, I think.
That better not mean we're not having CabinCon anymore.
Oh, no. I'm not sure how long we'll break from CabinCon moments. We're not going to have one now. So we're going to get to know a little bit of the geekitude of me and Joe. We each ask each other 3 questions. I like to phrase it more as a sentence or just a word and get their opinion on it, connected to gaming or outside of gaming. Right. So I've got 3.
And you started off last time.
Mm-hmm. You're going to start this time?
I'll start off this time.
Hit me, brother.
What do you think about painting minis?
Oh, I love when others do it. I leave it. I have finally come to that. I dreamt many years of I've painted 1, maybe 2 minis in my life, and they're little and they look like poop. My old Rauparthas.
Same here.
And I'm just not inclined to do it. I mean, literally leave it. I have no interest. I'd rather buy painted plastic minis. I'd rather buy flat plastic minis. I'd rather pay Patrick $20 to paint one of my minis, honestly, than me do it. It's just not, and even that's probably not worth the time. He does such a good job. It probably need $50. I don't know. Artists are pretty dang good. People that do a good job, it takes time.
Oh, sure.
I just am not interested at all. One of our friends used to paint a lot of Warhammer minis, and he would say, well, it's pretty easy. You just put these coats on. And I saw some of his armies he made, and they looked okay. But I mean, they look pretty good. But I was like, that's a hobby unto itself. And I love the results of people that do it, but I have no interest in doing it myself.
Have you watched any mini painting videos?
Snippets, 30 seconds. I just can't get into it.
Yeah. It can be interesting. Not that you watch every stroke. Most of them, if they show you the whole process, it's on fast forward.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
They slow down enough to say, well, during this part, this is the whitewashing phase. I know that's a term my cousin Rodney used to use. Rodney was a crazy bit of an artist and a painter in the early days of D&D, but I never blackwash, whatever they call them. I just don't care. I told you I'd sold Patrick the majority of my first set of Reapers because I just don't care.
Right.
I want my minis painted, pre-painted. Fine with that. Good enough.
Tech at the table. Do you like it? Love it? Has your attitude about it changed over time?
Somewhere between like it and leave it. It has changed. It used to be 100% leave it. I just didn't. When the phones first started coming around, I was like, I hate this.
Mainly because everybody's heads were down.
Yeah. And I now kind of just dislike it a little, but it's part of life. So having the phone can't control. Computers and tablets, I don't care if you're doing gaming stuff. So I can see the utility of it. I use my iPad, my computer some, so I can like it when it's gaming related. When you're surfing the web, when you're checking emails, hey, look at this video. It's like, I don't know, man, that's just, and it's not even disrespectful. I don't feel disrespected when someone does that. I'm just annoyed. Dude, if you're going to play the game.
Yeah.
You really have to, I mean, come on. We got a couple of folks that cannot put their phones down, and that's frustrating. Mm-hmm. One of them I don't play with much for that reason. So,
I've told the story of the fellows that would this gaming group I was in DC when I was stationed out there, where they would do 3D modeling while the game was going. But then there was like 12 of us playing, so it was easy to blend in like that.
Yeah, but having said that, I mean, I don't know. Even if I was a player, I would find that annoying. As a player, as a DM, extra annoyed. As a player, pretty annoyed. Right. So it's close to leave it most of the time. I really wish we just shut our phones off, put everything. And people said, well, I'll shut my phones off as soon as you don't use the iPad or the computer. Flip, turn it down. Let's do it. We're going analog. I would do that in a heartbeat, and it's not, I'm not trying to be like a dick about it. I find it annoying. Other folks don't. Do it, man. If you like it, do it. And like I said, I don't fight the phones. I started to go down that road there for a while in 3rd edition, and I backed off, and and I've seen you use the computer at the table, and you do really well, but you're one of the few that I've seen that are, if I glance at your computer screen, you had it on Hero, what's it called? Hero Lab.
Yeah.
Others are looking at other stuff.
That can still be an issue because you could be fiddling with that too much and not paying attention.
I think
even though you got your game stuff up, you could be fiddling with it. And I've kind of done a 180 on that a bit, maybe not completely a 180, but pretty close. I got to the point where I was like, man, why should I need a computer program to make sure my character's good?
Right. So
if you do, to me, that's kind of, I don't know. That's
a knock on the system.
I don't like it.
That's a knock on the system.
I think so.
And Andy at Grizzly Peaks, I heard him, I wasn't recently, on one of his podcasts I was listening to, he had mentioned how it's so easy for people to be distracted to have another screen open. He plays a lot of online games. So does some of our other OSR and podcasting buddies. So that becomes tricky.
Crap. That would be.
Yeah. That could be a problem. You'd have to be doubly focused in a game where you're playing online.
Oh yeah. That would be, yeah. There's no way I couldn't do that. I mean, no. I can't. That's okay. I say every once in a while, I'll say I'm above the comments, but that's from trying to watch a live stream of something. It doesn't matter.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Then trying to look at comments. You're like, I can't do that.
That's like if we were to ever do a live stream, we'd almost need a third person, because some podcasts do have a third person who keeps track of the comments.
It puts it up for you.
Really easy. Yeah, really easy to miss. Yeah.
Or we would probably, since there's 2 of us, we could get into a routine where when one's talking, the other one could grab something off of the comments and whatever. But
I'm barely listening if that happens. If you're jabbering and I'm looking at stuff, I'll barely be hearing what you're saying.
Considering that we only have like a dozen, maybe people listening to us at any one time.
Right.
Maybe.
Right. It'd be easy for us initially.
Yeah.
But once they see us, notice how skilled we are, and they love our YouTube and see our beautiful faces, we're bound to get 13 or 14 viewers. And then it becomes tough.
Yeah. Once you go over that dozen, it goes downhill.
I'll say like it, but barely.
Barely.
A lot of it's leave it, but yeah.
I like to use it away from the table.
Right. Me too.
All right. How do I phrase this one? Sticking to the IP of a particular thing in game. So let's say you're playing in Lord of the Rings, right? Yep. Let's say you're playing one of the various iterations of Middle-earth role-playing. And people don't want to stick to the original IP, or at least as you understand it.
Right. I would say I love it if you can pull it off. I would love to play in a game of Star Wars where we don't affect anything to do with the movies, yet we interact bits and pieces. Our buddy Josh talked about a Lord of the Rings game he wanted to run where you would arrive at places just after the Fellowship left. And you'd be kind of a cleanup crew dealing with small missions that have arose from what was left over when they were there. Like maybe go to, what's that, Weathertop, after they dealt with the race, and one of the races there doing some kind of recon, and you got to deal with the ring wraith or some after effects, some drawings, evil power being there, being drawn more orcs. And you just kind of end up with wherever the ring traveled, right? Without messing up canon. I love that idea. For me, just in general, I like it because I know that I like to know the canon and say, how can I make this still work? But I know that if I was running a long-term campaign, I would probably be more inclined to say, look, don't live on the canon. This IP may or may not be exactly the way you think, because I know I would do something that would throw something off, probably, maybe not on purpose. Right. So I would say probably like it to love it. I do like the idea of trying to make the IP stay the way it is. But I understand if you don't. I mean, unless the conceit is, hey, we're going to go screw up Star Wars. We're adventuring in the Star Wars world, and this stuff is happening. And if you kill Darth Vader, oh well.
I think a better use of that would be, we're going to screw up with the current canon.
Yes. Let's start with Last Jedi. Yeah. Okay. So you guys kill Rey now. Yeah, true. All right. My turn now for you now. Questions for Joe. MTG, Magic the Gathering.
It's a thing.
Okay.
I think I still have some cards. I did play briefly, but found it too expensive to really want to get into. And this was way back when I was stationed in DC. That's 15 or more years ago, maybe 20 years. When I and brief is brief, a month or two. It's like, wow, I got to spend this much money to play this game. I don't think so. But I've listened in now and again, and kind of regret not just picking up cards now and again.
Yeah.
Because way back in the day, I probably could have gotten a hold of decent rare cards.
Yeah, no.
And not have had to get into the game, just know what the cards are. And I mean, 20 years ago, I'm sure I could have picked up a couple of rares that would be at least bragging rights right now, if not worth any money.
Chances are good, because I know I told the story at a game store where this guy tried to get me to buy the last alpha pack he had for Magic the Gathering. I was like, I don't play a stupid card game. And then I went to Gen Con, and they were giving away packs. One of the first years Magic was out, second year, and I was giving away to people because I don't want this. So there you go.
I don't know that we'll have that opportunity again for that kind of thing.
No, I don't think so. All right. Now this is close to yours, but not really. It's not meant to be close to yours. It can be taken over you want. Computers.
Oh.
Just your general thoughts on computers.
Vis-a-vis role-playing or just overall?
I'm kind of thinking more overall. They're utility.
Okay.
Utility
Well,
and gadgetry techs and tech.
yeah. Computers are great tools.
Yep.
And we should probably look at them as great tools.
Mm-hmm.
Probably nothing more than that. I know with our podcast, we're using it as a tool to communicate with other people our thoughts on role playing, and that's a great use of the tool that is computers. But I can get a little bit too focused on them, and there was a time when I was wanting to build a bunch of computers and have kind of a command center look in a room with a bunch of monitors and stuff, right. And I'm like, yeah, you do, but what are you going to do with it? What are you going to put on the screens, and how much money is that going to cost, and all the power and whatnot? Right. So right now I have 2 screens and a decent computer. I did use part of the money that we were talking about upgrading to upgrade the memory, and that really, and it wasn't very much. I only spent $50 and doubled my RAM.
Nice.
And it really improved the performance quite a bit in general. Not a whole lot for what I was hoping it would. Yeah. I'm going to find out today, because I haven't had an opportunity to render a good video since I've upgraded the memory. So today will be a test of that.
Fine. Nice.
But I like computers. I like to build them. I haven't built a full computer in quite a while. So I'm a little bit out of the loop on some things.
Yeah.
Because apparently, there's always been like video card wars, and who does the best processors, who does memory, not so much, because
right.
I mean, once memory's it's just a chip.
Right.
And anybody can get the chip. I mean, there's some efficiencies you can get if you want to get into really high-end overclocked systems, but by and large, memory's memory.
Okay.
But yeah, I like computers.
Yeah, and that's cool. For me, it's just they're like a car. I need it to run. I need it to work when I got to do stuff. I don't care about tinkering with it, not even a little bit. But that's all right. Okay, last one. Sports.
They're fun to watch, and some of them I like to do. But I don't get into it like some people, all the people and history of it. Some of the history of a sport is more interesting than, especially at current, who's the best basketball player or whatever.
Right.
But some of the history is very interesting. But,
yeah. So do you have a favorite sports team in any particular sport?
Not really.
You have favorites? Yeah,
no.
I do. I have my favorites, but.
Right.
And so, yeah. Okay.
Not really, because I just like watching a good game. And to me, a good game is a close game,
right?
Not necessarily a high scoring game. I know it can be, but if it's close, if it's a blowout, it's kind of boring.
And if it's a back and forth and it's close, even if it's like football, dude scored 3, second quarter, another team scored 3. Oh crap, it's 3-3, halftime. Yeah. Then touchdown real quick, and then no touchdown real quick, 10-10. Yeah. In the back and forth, fourth quarter, field goal. Yeah, 13-10. I mean, that can be cool when it goes. I agree. Or I've seen games that ended like 5-2 that were really good.
And if it's a high scoring game on both sides, it can sometimes be exciting, but most of the time it's going to be boring, because it ends up just being an offensive game, and the defense is all they're just laying down on the field and letting the other side.
I've actually been a part of, and so were you. We were a part of the lowest possible scored football game. Our first game we ever played against a team in nearby city when we were in 7th grade. I remember I played it. We lost 2-0.
Oh crap. I don't remember that game.
We gave up a safety on a punt, and we lost 2-0. Yeah, I had one of the
nobody could score.
The only thing I can say is I had one of the best tackles I'd ever had in my life. I'd come off the end as a tackle, and one of the guys, I was going to the quarterback, and one of the guys grabbed him by the shirt and was swinging him around and swung him right into me at full speed.
Oh boy.
And dude, I dropped that dude like a bad habit. It was just like, it was beautiful. It was the best tackle I ever made. Not just because he was swinging, but I got a perfect shoulder hit, and he just went ka-flat.
Did he get back up?
Yeah, I think he did. He felt it though. Yeah, I got off him slowly. I want him to enjoy the experience.
Actually, I think the most fun I have had playing a sport, I think, has been volleyball.
Oh yeah, I don't know, basketball. I've had such a great time. Volleyball is really cool. You and I have talked about how we enjoyed playing
Basketball
volleyball.
was in our formative years as
Mhm.
young men, but
Yeah.
I think I've had the most fun as a team sport with volleyball.
Yeah,
Um,
you feel more connected in volleyball
right.
because you need that person, to set you if you're going to spike it. You need that
Right.
person to dig it out,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just really cool when someone digs and saves the ball, and then you get it back in play, or they get it back in play, and it's fun. I agree, and as a game for a lot of people to play at like a picnic. My family played a lot of that, and you joined in. We had a lot of good times with volleyball. It was fun. Yeah. Okay. Well, cool. What was that? You asked me about tech, and then IPs and RPGs. What else did you ask me about? I just forgot.
Minis.
Minis. Yeah. Mini painting. All right. Cool. Just making notes. All right. Shall we move on to the last segment?
Segment 4.
Yeah.
Dig this setting. We're doing rippers.
Yeah, baby.
Rippers.
So one of probably my second favorite Savage World setting. So it's essentially Victorian era monster hunting. That's the long and the short of it. You want to you want to read
some?
Yeah, read through the. I have kind of a paragraph that I think will be worth for people to hear about.
Yeah, I'll read the first paragraph.
Yeah.
Victorian era monster hunting, mythological creatures, werewolves, mummies, vampires, etc., but only the rippers stand in their way. Pulp action with a horror aesthetic. Rippers is the name of the game, or name of the setting, but also an organization founded by Abraham Van Helsing in the mythos of Rippers. Dr. Jack, who's Jack the Ripper, and was originally a hero, decided to fight those things that go bump in the night. After a particularly deadly encounter with Dracula, Dr. Jack decided it would be good to use Ripper tech, pieces of monsters grafted to Rippers to give them power, but eventually mind affecting and leading to psychosis. He and Van Helsing split on this and eventually used too much Ripper tech. Dr. Jack became insane, left the Rippers and allied with the monsters. He once fought and formed the Cabal. With the newest edition, Rippers resurrected, Johann Van Helsing took over the leadership as his father went missing, but managed to eventually defeat the Cabal. But now a new evil is arising.
Right. So, yeah, Victorian monster hunting. I think the setting's really fun. It reminds me of Van Helsing, the movie with who's the actor that played Wolverine.
You would ask me that. Now you're exposing my bad memory.
Tall guy. Anyway, yeah, that movie. Very, very Savage World, simple, and it's the most modern game that I like, that I've played, that I really enjoy. And it's set near the same time as Deadlands, which I like. That. So you could easily have a campaign where that's what's happening in Europe versus Deadlands is happening in the Old West. Ripper Tech is a cool element.
Yes, it is. I think I had a character.
Yeah, wasn't this your recent one for the Witches campaign?
Yeah,
your doctor got a little Ripper Tech in him. And
yes.
Get some advancements, and he haven't faced any psychosis yet. He doesn't have enough to go crazy.
But I did I made him a little jittery.
Yeah, you can literally take like a vampire's, a werewolf's, what's the word I'm looking for? Adrenal gland.
Yes.
And you can place it into your own body, and then you can get a bump in your strength. You can take, mummy, turn it to dust, and create a potion and drink it, and you get unnaturally long life. I mean, you can do crazy stuff. And as you add, though, every time you add it, you make this check. And when you fail the check, you can become crazy and become a bad guy. You'll become the thing that you fight.
Lose your humanity. Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, Hugh Jackman.
I broke and was starting to look it up, but just as I was getting to his picture, I was like, "Oh yeah, Hugh Jackman." Yeah,
Hugh Jackman. Yeah. So that movie, him and the chick from Underworld.
Yeah,
They were
I'm
in that
not going
movie.
to remember her name.
No, I don't remember her name either. So anyway, but I remember one of my I love that campaign we ran, the one you referenced with your doctor. Joe has a scientist, not a mad scientist who uses a gun that's like that dude from Fringe, and it creates amber. Remember? And you freeze
Yes.
on that amber. That was so cool. We ran a campaign where I sat near Glasgow, Scotland. I had just come back from visiting Europe. And so I was in Glasgow, and there was a Ripper's Lodge that was destroyed. And there was a coven of witches that were up to no good. And it was heavily inspired by something you mentioned today, Penny Dreadful.
Yes.
And then
But
anyway,
better.
yeah, that was fun. And you guys went there and you rebuilt the lodge, which that's another cool element in the game. You can actually have a Ripper's Lodge, it's like a home base, and there's a variety of them throughout Europe. And so you can have your own lodge where you have to manage that as a resource.
Yeah, I liked our Penny Dreadful story much better than the Penny Dreadful series.
Yes.
But maybe I'm a little biased.
I like the original Penny Dreadful series, but there were multiple cringe moments for me.
Yeah.
But I still like some of the, and it was inspirational for Rippers. So,
Yes.
Yeah.
It did serve that purpose, and we had a lot of fun with that. It'd be cool to get back to it.
Yeah. I definitely have an idea, and I'm ready to run another campaign with those guys. Do you anything else you like about Rippers or want to comment about Rippers? And Ripper Tech is big. The setting is cool. So.
Oh, everything that's cool about Savage Worlds is accentuated, I think, in Rippers.
I agree.
I wouldn't say Gonzo is not the right word for Rippers,
No.
but it is a little bit over the top. It's kind of like the Hammer films, made into a game
with a taste, just a hint of steampunk.
A hint of steampunk.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of room to make, like the character I play is, you probably wouldn't see him particular in like a Hammer film.
No.
The setting allows, there is enough, even though the setting is well defined, there's enough room to have unique characters.
And there's a bunch of secret orders too that can be part of Ripper. You can be part of the Rosicrucians. You can be a part of the Order of St. George. There's several other suborders of people up to doing something, plenty good, some bad, where you can be Knights Templar, those sort of things. They exist in the world, and it's pretty cool. It's very rich, and if you like to explore history a little bit, it's pretty fun to play. I think it's a pretty cool setting,
right?
And you can be spellcasty if you want.
Right. I think the way I come up with the character was looking at the different powers you can get, the different abilities you get, the Ripper Tech, and the Ripper Tech itself inspired one of the things about the character, which was his intelligence. I think it was his intelligence was enhanced by
smarts. Yep. Something you took.
Was it a vampire brain or something like that? Some creature's brain, part of the brain.
Right.
So he had to have had his skull operated on.
Right. It's crazy.
So what I did was I made it ill. Whenever it got put back together, it didn't fit right exactly. So he was always having to kind of adjust his skull cap. So it just, to me, the Ripper Tech can help you flesh out a character and their mannerisms, and make them unique, instead of just saying, I got a bonus on my character sheet.
Yeah, speaking of characters, we actually had, your wife played a botanist who studied the occult a little, and she was from, where was she from in the U.S.? Arkham.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, she was from that university, which is great. And then we had our buddy Jeff played a British detective who didn't really, he thought a lot of the things went bump in the night was bullcrap. And he eventually found out that wasn't the case. But he was basically had used a gun and was very smart. He was a Sherlock Holmes-esque guy. And then Josh played a dude from the Weird West who had been, he's hunting a vampire, and his character was a gunslinger. So it was really kind of a cool group, and we had we had a really good time. We had a beginning and an end, and we stopped the witches, and I want to get back to it. And you guys rebuilt the lodge, and we're going to start from there a year or two later. So the campaign was very memorable. I think those are just, you have a lot of archetypes you can play, and you can face off all sorts of things. Like I said, the standard bog mummies, werewolves, and vampires to crazy golems and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, you can definitely, I can see adding a lot of steampunk elements if you wanted to that game.
Oh, sure.
What kind of cons did it have, did you think? I'll say this for me. Let me go first. I have mine written down. So I always felt obligated to focus on what Victorian era was like. So sometimes the homework felt intense.
Oh.
No, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Victoria. I'm not a hugely knowledgeable Victorian era politics and societal rules. So I had to look that up, which is okay. I mean, I got to do it, learn some stuff. Like any other game, Savage Worlds is swingy. I was not a fan of them getting rid of the Cabal and Rippers Resurrected. So in my game, the Cabal still exists. I have a lot more I want to do with the Cabal. I didn't like them saying Johans had defeated the Cabal. In my world, he thinks he's defeated the Cabal, but they are working themselves back into power.
Well, so, what's the new evil supposed to be?
I don't remember. It's part of the plot point campaign in the book, so I don't know what it was.
I didn't know any of that.
I don't remember. I just know that I didn't hate it. I was like, the Cabal was great. You have to have the Cabal was started by Dr. Jack. He went to the monsters he used to fight and some of the villains, and he started an organization to counter the Rippers. I like that. I love the idea of maybe having to face a group of evil creatures, even a group of creatures that have like mummies and humans, regular humans working side by side, perhaps full of Ripper tech, trying to thwart whatever you're doing.
Right. Yeah, that makes a good foil.
Yeah. Is there other things about the game or the setting that you didn't like? Things you didn't like?
I don't think so. Nothing more than we've already maybe brought up about Savage Worlds in general, like the swinginess. Right. But the swinginess of the exploding dice is part of the charm as well.
Yeah, and I think the Rippers, if you have Rippers Resurrected and you have the original Ripper stuff, then there's tons of modules too, a handful of them on PDF. The world is rich, lots of good adventures to run. I would definitely lean on adventures that they've written, though I'll modify them. The Witches campaign was pretty much all mine. I didn't use anything, but it's harder for me to think in that area, but I definitely spent some time and trying to think about Victorian etiquette. Your wife seemed to appreciate that I threw in snippets of Victorian etiquette because she's kind of a fan of that era, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah, she's pretty up on that, and and
she was helpful in game.
Right. Well, she's a Jane Austen fan.
Yeah.
And that's Victorian era, I believe. Yeah. And I've sat with her watching a few Jane Austen shows, which can be pretty good. I mean, there was a BBC one we watched pretty recently. Oh, actually, that wasn't Victorian era. That was Little Women. But it's amazing how when I was a younger man, that stuff would have completely bored me.
Oh, yeah.
But now, as long as the acting is good and it's not done by the modern Hollywood folks, then it can be enjoyable.
I saw a good one with Colin Firth and, believe it or not, Keira Knightley, I think, with my wife. And I watched it. Express purpose was to study. And so I watched a few things, study for the game, and see how it played and how they interacted. So, and the costuming and stuff. And it's kind of neat to see that a different time. Or I don't know, is Downton Abbey? Downton Abbey might also be Victorian. It was at one time. I'm not sure.
I don't think it's.
I don't think so.
It's
too late. Turn of the century.
Yeah, it's World War World War One.
Yeah. True. Okay. So anyway, how would you rank this setting?
I think XL probably.
Yeah, me too. I do love it. I would absolutely play it anytime, and I would run a campaign and not feel bad. I don't know if I would run an open-ended forever campaign, but I probably will, because next time I run one, it's going to be those same characters.
Right.
Bring them back and get them up to maybe veteran or heroic.
Yeah, and the great thing about it is it'd be easy to pick up.
Yes, very easy. Savage Worlds is easy for that.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't played for a while, man, I haven't played Savage Worlds forever. I'm going to play a heroic character. It's okay. Get a 4. Target number 4.
Target number 4, unless there's some issue, but it's not going to be much higher than that or different.
No.
Right. So is that it for Rippers?
Yeah, I think that's all I got.
Big thumbs up.
Absolutely. Go get it. Play it now. It's awesome.
All right. So we're not going to have a negative material plane this week.
Nope.
So we're going to go straight to shameless plug time. If you'd like to support the show, please help get the word out. Tell your friends, your enemies, anybody that will listen to you about our show. Found at biggestgeekestpodcast.com. Please excuse the ugliness. I'm good at putting together a website that works, but not good at making it look pretty.
Function over form, baby.
Yeah. And if you'd like to support us, we have a support tab with a few ways that you can help out. Biggest one, though, right now is spreading the word.
Yep.
We are on YouTube. We have almost all of our episodes now. I'm just down to
man.
the
Good
last
job. Last
awesome. 10. I've got to get the last 10 up there.
Okay.
And considering the only reason we're doing the podcast today as opposed to tomorrow, or in addition to tomorrow, is that I'm not at work because I hurt my back.
Joe's pain. And I'll be gone in a week, so we won't be able to do it.
But not only YouTube, we're on Odyssey. I will have links to both. And please rate us on your favorite podcatcher, iTunes as well as any. Although iTunes is having issues with things, so iTunes might not be your favorite.
Yeah, go with Spotify.
Yeah,
or
whatever. Yeah, and we have a new email, thegeeks@biggestgeekestpodcast.com. Because it's more thematic of what it's for. Just the general email, catch all everything.
Yeah, if you have questions or comments, especially about the topic, playing the full game, I'd love to get people's comments, either email or call in about playing the full game. And this has been a thing for you and me both. We've always wanted to talk about this.
Right. Also, we'd like to encourage you to watch a few other podcasts that we're going to have in the show notes and other things that we like. And all of that will be detailed below in the show notes.
Yes.
All right.
Cool.
Anything else before we get out of here? All righty. This is Joe.
And I'm Randy.
And remember, if you can't be big like us, then be geeks like us.